Okay, so today we're going to create box plots, and then we're going to look at how to interpret the data from the box plot. So a box plot is also known as a box and whisker plot. I always have this number line along the bottom, and then as you see, there's a middle box here, and then there's two whiskers on either end of it. And as you can tell, I highlighted 5 key points because it's really important that the first thing we're going to do when you get a data set is we are going to find what is called the 5-number summary. And the 5-number summary is the minimum amount, the lower quartile, the median, the upper quartile, and that maximum amount. So every time you get a data set, the first step before you make a box plot is to go ahead and find the 5-number summary. This sort of, if you wanted to pause this slide, gives you those directions that are at the top of your notes to refer to. But I'm going to sort of walk through 3 examples that have us use these steps. So the first thing that we have to do when we get our data set and we want to make a box plot is we have to put the number in order. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the numbers in order. Okay, I have a 2, an 8, a 10, a 12, a 14, 18, and 20. And it's really easy to forget a number. So I'm going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll see that I constantly do that step so I don't forget a number. And then I have to find a 5-number summary. So I have to find the minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, and the maximum. So I sort of write those sort of 5 numbers off to the side so that I know where to put them. Well, the minimum and the maximum are pretty easy to find, especially when they're already ordered for you. The median's also easy to find because that's what we did last week. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12 is the median. Go ahead and circle the median. That's going to be really helpful for our next step. We know that if there's an odd number of numbers in the data set, the median's I'm just going to circle 1 number there. So now I'm up to sort of the new terms. I have Q1 and Q3. Well, Q1 is the median of the lower half of numbers. So I'm just going to look at those 3 numbers and find the median of those numbers. That's 8. And then I'm going to look at the median of the top part of numbers, which is 18. Now, it worked out really nice with 7 numbers in our data set, but we can envision that if there was 9 numbers in our data set, I would have 4 numbers here. But I know how to find the median of 4 numbers. We'll do some example problems with that later. So then to draw the box plot, now that I have 5 numbers, I'm going to go ahead and number my number line. It's really important that when you do a number line, you either number all of the numbers or count by 2s or maybe even count by 5s if you needed to. But I say rule of thumb is I would either count by 1s or count by 2s. So I went ahead and I labeled a number line. Now I'm going to plot the 5 points. And I sort of plot them up here. It's not like a dot plot. They don't need to go next to the numbers. This is so that I can draw my box and my whisker. Now, the middle number that goes through the box is the median. And then I have the lower end of my box and the upper end of my box. Those 3 numbers right here, they make up the box. And then here are my whiskers. And that sort of gives me from my lower end to the upper end. And that's my box plot. So now let's try creating a box plot with 2 other sets of data. Please feel free to pause the video and try it yourself and then fast forward and check your answers. This is example 2. Now on example 2, I went ahead and I already put the numbers in order. But I'm going to go ahead and I start by finding my 5-number summary. So now that they're already in order, I know the minimum is 2, the maximum is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now it's an even number. Well, if it's an even number, I have to circle both of those. I find the average of those 2 and I get 8.5. That's my median is 8.5. But notice how I circled both the numbers. To me, that step is really helpful because now on a box plot, when you have an even number of numbers, to find Q1, I'm going to split those two numbers. So that to find Q1, now I have to find the median of those four numbers. The median of those four numbers is 4.5. So not 4, because I have to include that 8 in the lower half of numbers. If you remember with our last example, if it's an odd number, you don't include the one number that is circled. But if you have two numbers that are circled, you have to split them and then count the 8 for the lower half, and I'm going to count that 9 with the upper half, so Q3 is going to be 9.5. That's probably the most missed part of trying to create these box plots. Okay, so again, I counted by 2s. I could have probably counted by 1s this time, but it'll be okay. Perfect. And there's my box plot for those numbers. As you'll notice, sometimes the whisker lengths are different, or sometimes how big each half of the box is may be different. That's pretty normal. All that means is that if it's a larger section, that the data is more spread out, where if it's a smaller section of the box, like this data is really clustered together at 9. And when the data has a larger range, you'll see more of that variability in your graphs. So here's class example number 3. So for class example number 3, again, I have the numbers in order for you, but that is definitely the very first step, is you have to put the numbers in order, which is the first step when you're finding the median anyways that we did last week. So I went ahead and I have my minimum and my maximum. 1, 2, 3, up, 7 is my median. Now I circled just the 7 because there's an odd number of numbers in the data set. Now from here, I have to find Q1. That's the median of the lower half, so that's 5. And the median of the upper half is 8. So then as I go to graph it, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go ahead and count by 1s this time because the range is really small. I'm going to go ahead and plot my 5 points. 2, 5, 7, 8. Wait, 8 is used twice. Well, now I only have 4 points. Let me show you how I'm going to draw my box plot. So the median is always that line that splits the box. So that's why this median has to be right there to split the box. This is the minimum to Q1, so that's the whisker. This box plot is actually not going to have an upper whisker because since Q3 is the same as the maximum, they share that data point. You can, if you want, sometimes I try to make that line a little bit darker than the other one just to make sure that as you're looking at it, it's not like, oh, I forgot to finish the problem. But you did finish the problem. It's just that those two are the same. But that's how we would draw this box and whisker plot when 2 of the numbers are the same.